Want to speak real English from your first lesson? Sign up for your free lifetime account at EnglishClass101.com.
Hi everybody, my name is Alicia. In this lesson, I'm going to talk about phrasal verbs that use go. So remember, a phrasal verb is a verb plus a preposition and then sometimes something extra. So today I'm going to introduce a few common phrasal verbs with go that maybe you haven't heard of. There are quite a lot with this verb, so I want to introduce some that hopefully you can use right away. Let's get started. Okay, the first phrasal verb I want to talk about is go ahead. Go ahead. This means permission or encouragement to do something before others. So I've noticed on this channel, for example, many viewers like to use go ahead, but they mean please continue. Go ahead does not have the meaning of please continue something. It means feel free to do something before me. So an example of using go ahead might be go ahead and eat. For example, I'm going to be home late today. Go ahead and eat dinner. So go ahead means before me. So go ahead and do something. We'll follow go ahead oftentimes with and. Go ahead of me and do something. Some verb will follow this. So in this case, go ahead and eat is a very common way that we use this one. Okay, let's move along to the next phrasal verb, which is go along with. To go along with something means to temporarily means for a short time only, to temporarily believe something that may be false. So here I put may be false. This could be a story, it could be a plan, it could be like just the way that someone is behaving. But this means to temporarily believe. So yes, temporarily can be a very short time, but this could be over weeks, months, or years. So it's something that perhaps has an end point at some point in time. That doesn't have to be very soon, but you temporarily believe or you pretend to believe something. Here's an example. I don't want to go along with this plan. I don't want to go along with this plan. So here there's a noun phrase. I don't want to go along with this plan means I don't want to pretend this plan is okay. So kind of the feeling here of to go along with something is that you're believing it and you're like pretending that you're agreeing with that thing or you're participating in that thing. So to go along with something, it can have a negative meaning. It can also have kind of like a positive feeling, like for example, a surprise birthday party. Like we need her to go along with the idea that she's not meeting her friends today, for example. Like we need her to temporarily believe she's not meeting her friends. But it can have a negative feeling, like here, I don't want to go along with this plan. Maybe the plan is bad or the plan is kind of evil somehow. So to go along with something is to believe something or to like continue doing something, to pretend to agree with something that may not be true. Okay, so let's continue on to the next phrasal verb. The next phrasal verb is to go around. To go around. This has two meanings actually. The first is to be enough for a group, to be enough for a group. The second one is one that you probably or maybe already know, which is to move past something by moving around it. So there's some obstacle that you face and you move around that obstacle. So that one is probably a little easier to understand, moving around physically an obstacle in order to pass the obstacle. However, the one I want to focus on for this lesson is this one, to be enough for a group, to go around. So in an example sentence, do we have drinks to go around? So here, do we have drinks to go around as a question means, do we have enough drinks for all the people in our group? So go around is a shorter way to say that. So you can imagine if you have a group of people in a circle, you can like give each person one of something. So that means to go around. There's enough of something to go around. You will sometimes hear people include enough in a phrase like this. Do we have enough drinks to go around? So this refers to having enough of something for everyone in a group. Okay, let's move along to the next expression. The next phrasal verb is go away, go away. This is probably one that many of you know. To go away is often used as a command without the to, just go away, command form. So it means to move away from the current location, like to move away from the whiteboard, for example, or to move away from the camera. So you're moving away from something. So you're not getting closer. It's the opposite direction. But like I said, we often use it as commands. So to tell someone to go away, to tell a pet to go away. Another example, I wish these bugs would go away. I wish these bugs would go away. So in other words, go away from me. Go away from me, from the speaker. So when we say go away, and it doesn't have this kind of like reference point, it tends to mean like from the speaker's location. So I wish these bugs would go away from me. Okay, let's move along to the next phrasal verb. The next one is go back or go back to. So you'll see these both used. So to go back to something, let's use that. To go back to something means to return to a previous location. Or you can use it for a phase, like a step in a project, or you can use it for a person. To go back to a person. To go back to a certain phase of your project, to go back to a place. So we use this when we've made progress in some way or we've changed our life in some way and we return to something that we did earlier or we return to a person that we associated with earlier. When we use this expression to talk about people, it's often because we're talking about a romantic relationship. Like for example, he went back to his ex-girlfriend. Or she went back to her former boss, for example. So there's something that like we knew in the past, we knew was true about the person in the past, and they returned to that point. So we can use go back to refer to that. More commonly, perhaps, though, is when we just want to return to something we saw earlier. For example, go back to slide 2, please. So if you're giving a presentation, you could say, go back to slide 2. Please return to slide 2. So everyone saw slide 2. I, the speaker, the presenter, want to return to that slide for some reason. So go back to something is to return to something. Okay, let's move along to another one that's very similar. So we talked about go back or go back to. Now let's look at go back on. So to go back on something is to choose not to do something as promised. So we tend to use this expression with promises or agreements of some kind. So to go back on a promise means you make the promise and then your actions do not align with the promise. So in an example sentence, the president went back on his promises. So to go back on his promises. This means the president made a promise and the president's actions did not match that promise. So for example, the president of the company said he would give all employees their birthday off. And then the president decided not to do that in the end. So he made a choice, he or she made a choice not to make that birthday policy happen. So that would be an example of the president going back on his promise. So choosing not to do a thing that you promised to do. In some cases, people will do the opposite of what they promised to do. We can use that as well. So to go back on and to go back to are quite different. Keep in mind, to go back on always sounds quite negative. To go back to doesn't necessarily sound negative. It can, depending on what is being returned to. Like if a person is going back to a negative relationship, for example, it could feel negative. But to go back on does have that negative feeling of like betrayal. Okay, so let's continue on to the next phrasal verb, which is go for, to go for something. To go for something means to try to obtain something or someone, to try to get something or to try to get someone. So when I say to get someone here, this can mean like to get someone as like a boyfriend or a girlfriend. Or it can mean to try to get someone to participate in something. So you want someone to join like a party or a conference or something similar. You can use this expression in that case. So let's look at an example. She's going for the gold medal. So very common in the Olympics and sporting events in general. She's going for. Here I have the progressive tense. She's going for. That means she's trying to get the gold medal. She's going for the gold is also a way that we say this. So in this case, it's an object. If you want to use it to talk about a person, you could say like, oh, I tried to go for that girl or that guy across the room, but he or she wasn't interested, for example. So you're trying to get or you're trying to attract a person. Okay, let's move along to the next one, which is go in on, to go in on something. Careful, go back on and go in on are quite different. Go in on something. To go in on something means to become one of a group of people investing in something. So investing, in many cases, this means investing money in something, in probably most cases with this expression. So you and some other people have decided you all want the same thing, and you invest your resources in that thing. An example, I went in on a shared office. So here we have past tense, I went in on a shared office. So shared office is the thing that each person wants in this group. We don't know how many people, but we use I went in on. This shows us that there are other people who want the same thing, though we don't have to mention the other people. I went in on a shared office. So I invested money, perhaps time, effort, resources, in order to get this shared office with other people. So to go in on something, it does have kind of a cooperative feeling about it. It's neither positive nor negative, really. Okay, on to the next one. The next one is go off. To go off. So to go off, when you're talking about people, to go off means to lose your temper. It means like to shout or to yell angrily. To go off. You'll also hear when something goes off, it could be like an alarm, like the alarm went off this morning. So it has kind of the same feel though. Like when a person goes off, they lose their temper, they shout, they scream. When an alarm goes off, it makes a lot of noise. So you can imagine it's sort of like an object losing its temper or an object making a lot of noise as well. So we can use this for a few objects, but we use it a lot for people's tempers as well, their emotions. Example, a guy went off at a cop. So here you'll see, yes, I've used it in the past tense, a guy went off at a cop. We can use at after this to show the recipient of the anger. So in this case, a cop. So cop is slang for a police officer. So a guy went off, lost his temper at a police officer. I've used at here. You will also hear on. Like my mom went off on me is another common one, or my mom went off at me. You might hear both of those. I think I probably use on more often, but you may hear at as well. So to go off on someone means to lose your temper with someone. Okay, on to the next one. The next one is to go out, to go out. So to go out means just to leave your home, to leave your home. So this can be used, I feel, positively to refer to doing activities outside of your house. It's like you're going to do something fun. For example, why don't we go out tonight? Why don't we go out tonight? So this is one that you can use when you're thinking about like planning activities. So let's go out, or we went out to a movie last night, for example. So to go out sounds like you're out and about doing things. Okay, let's move on to the next one then. The next one is the expression go together. to go together. So yes, this does mean to physically go to another location with someone. Like, let's go together. Let's go to the movies together. But this also has the meaning of suiting, like to suit, or to combine well, to suit or to combine well. So we use this a lot for clothing, actually. So a really common example sentence with clothing, do these shoes and this shirt go together? So the speaker here is asking about two things, a pair of shoes, these shoes, the plural, and this shirt. So the speaker is asking, do these two sort of parts, to my look, go together? So one point to be careful about, go together does not mean match. So to match means two things are exactly the same, 100% the same. To go together means they combine well. They combine nicely. They look good together. So you'll often hear people actually drop this together. People will sometimes say, like, do these shoes and this shirt go? Do they go? Instead of go together. So when we say go in this way, it means do they suit each other? Like, do they combine nicely? So we use this a lot for talking about our clothes and for our appearance. So keep an eye out for this one. It's quite common. Okay, let's move on to the next one, to go with something or to go with someone. To go with or to go with something, to go with someone means to choose, to choose. We use this a lot in restaurants and kind of in any situation where we're making plans. Like, for example, I'm gonna go with the steak. I'm gonna go with the steak. So here I have go with followed by the object the speaker chooses. I'm gonna go with the steak. So I chose the steak, or I choose the steak. If you're using this to talk about a person, you might be planning something, like you're planning a team. Like, I'm going to go with person A for this role in my company, or this role at the event. I'm going to go with person B for this role. So when you're choosing people, or maybe you're choosing teams for something, you could use go with. It sounds kind of like a casual way of choosing someone. Instead of choose, like I choose this person, I choose that person, using go with sounds a little bit lighter, a little less formal. Okay, so let's continue to the last one in this list, which is go without, to go without. So to go without something means to do something without typical items or typical people. So there's some like common task, some kind of well-known task or well-known activity, but you have to do that thing without something that you usually use. So an example, I had to go without rain gear for my hike. So imagine it's a rainy day and the speaker had to go on this hike, but without his or her rain gear, with no rain gear, without using this thing that he or she usually uses. So to go without something, this does have a negative nuance, that this thing that I need or this thing that I prefer to have, that it's common to have, I did not have that for a task or an activity that I was doing. So to go without something. In another example, like maybe I could say, I had to go without a microphone for this lesson. Like it would maybe make it less of a good experience. The experience would not be as good, or it would be difficult to do things. So to go without something does tend to sound a little bit more negative. Okay, so this is a lot of information, I know, but this is just a quick introduction to some phrasal verbs that use the word go. If you have any other questions, or if you want to know some more about other phrasal verbs that use go, I would highly recommend checking a dictionary. There are a lot of words, a lot of expressions that use go. So please take a look at a dictionary for some more information and some more example sentences as well. Of course, if you have questions or comments, or if you want to practice making an example sentence, please feel free to do so in the comment section of this video. Of course, if you like this lesson, don't forget to give it a thumbs up, subscribe to our channel if you have not already, and check us out at EnglishClass101.com for some other things that can help you with your English studies. Thanks very much for watching this lesson, and I will see you again soon. Bye-bye.